Chapter 2. The Art of a Minister. 59. Looking at the individuals in history who have made great contributions to the society, it is evident that they all had accumulated outstanding and remarkable stories through their endurance against innumerable physical strains and hardships. As well, they were assiduously thoughtful. They never let their studies go to waste, and they never changed their ideals despite poverty. Scroll 28, 无志, Volume 2. 60. Wise ministers do not fawn upon their leader to the extent that will corrupt his virtues. They also do not fawn upon the masses just to gain their favor. Neither will they benefit themselves at the expense of the public interest, nor do they hinder the enforcement of laws for the fear of powerful adversaries. They are wise enough to recognize the crafty and the evil. They conform to morality and justice, and their integrity prevents them from forming factions to advance their personal interests. Scroll 44, 潜夫论. 61. Once upon a time, the great scholar and government minister Yang Zhen was promoted to become the prefect of Donglai Prefecture. During his travel to Donglai via Changyi County, he was approached in the middle of the night by a man called Wang Mi, who had been nominated by Yang Zhen to become the magistrate of Changyi County. Wang Mi brought with him 10 kilograms of gold as gift. Yang Zhen was appalled and upset at the sight of this gift. He said to Wang Mi, "As your old friend, I understand you very well, but you don't seem to understand this old friend of yours very well." Wang Mi replied, "It is the date of the night. No one will know you received the gold." Yang Zhen corrected his friend. "Heaven knows, the deities know, I know and you know. How can you say nobody knows?" Scroll 23, 后汉书, Volume 3. 62. Once, Duke Jingping asked Shu Xiang, "Of all the misfortune that can befall a nation, which one is the greatest?" Shu Xiang replied, "When a high-ranking official would rather covet wealth and power than to provide sensible counsel, and a low-ranking official would rather refrain from speaking the truth than to offend his superiors, and thus the leader cannot hear the voice of the people. This is the greatest misfortune that can befall a nation." Scroll 22, 后汉书, Volume 2. 63. A minister with great moral integrity who follows the 6 good conducts will enjoy honor and glory. In contrast, a minister who commits any of the 6 evil conducts will provoke humiliation. Scroll 43, 说愿. Note, the 6 good conducts of a minister are: Number 1, has great foresight and take preventive measures. Such a person is a sagely minister. Number 2, modest and diligent, supports the good and eradicates the evil. Such a person is a good minister. Number 3, hardworking and never tire of recommending good people to work for the government. Such a person is a loyal minister. Number 4, perceptive about success or failure, turns misfortune into good fortune. Such a person is a wise minister. Number 5, honest and scrupulous in his dealings, perform official duties with integrity. Such a person is an honorable minister. And number 6, upright and outspoken, unafraid to point out the faults of his government. Such a person is a forthright minister. The 6 evil conducts of a minister are: Number 1, being content with an official salary but having no interest in his job. Such a person is an incompetent minister. Number 2, flatters effusively to placate his superiors. Such is a flattering minister. Number 3, talks cleverly in an ingratiating manner and is jealous of good and able people. Such a person is a treacherous minister. Number 4, talks artfully and sows discord among people. Such a person is a slandering minister. Number 5, dictatorial and arbitrary, and forms decisive factions to advance his personal interests. Such a person is a crooked minister. And number 6, works behind the scenes and stir up trouble and unrest. Such a person is a vicious minister. 64. Confucius said, in attendance to the leader, superior persons reflect upon the ways in which they can serve with utmost loyalty in their official duties, and on retirement they reflect upon the ways in which they can remedy their leader's mistakes. They will help to advance worthy causes put forward by the leader, and they will not hesitate to remedy his shortcomings. Hence, the relationship between the superior and the subordinate is cordial and amicable. Scroll 9, 孝经. 65. There are 3 kinds of approach that an official can take to fulfill his duties: prevent, rectify, and reprimand. Prevent involves taking precautionary measures to prevent mistakes from happening. Rectify involves rectifying mistakes that have been done. Reprimand involves giving direct reprimands to the perpetrator. Among the 3, prevent is the best approach, followed by rectify, then by reprimand. Scroll 46, 身见. 66. Confucius said, for the ones that serve the lords may make the following 3 errors. To speak when it is not necessary is being rash. Not to speak when it is necessary is being evasive. To speak without observing the Lord's facial expression is being blind. Scroll 9, 论语. 67. Duke Jing asked Yanzi, "How should a loyal minister serve his lord?" Yanzi replied, "A loyal minister will not die for his lord when his lord is in danger, and he will not send his lord away when his lord is about to flee the state." Duke Jing was not very pleased with Yanzi's reply, and said, "A lord confers land to his minister, and thus enables the minister to become rich. He confers title to a minister, and thus enables the minister to become noble. And if a minister is not willing to die for his lord, or send his lord away when his lord is about to flee the state, how can this be justified?" Yanzi replied, "Had the Lord listened to the loyal minister's advice, the Lord would never be exposed to any danger in his life. Therefore, no situation would arise where a loyal minister had to sacrifice his life for his Lord. Likewise, a lord who had accepted strategies proposed by the loyal minister would never need to flee the state. So, no situation could arise where the minister would have to send the lord on his way to exile. If advice was dismissed, and consequently the loyal minister had to accompany his lord to face death, would this not be absurd? And if his lord did not accept good strategies proposed by the loyal minister, and consequently the minister had to send the lord on his way to exile, is this not hypocritical? Thus, a loyal minister should be able to provide counsel that can be accepted by his lord, and thereby can save both himself and the lord from tragedy." Scroll 33. Yanzi. 68. Confucius asked his student Zigong, "Who do you think is wiser, the one working hard for himself, or the one nominating worthy officials to the government?" To this, Zigong answered, "The one nominating worthy officials to the government is wiser." Confucius said, "You are right." Scroll 10. 孔子家语 69. A loyal official will nominate a competent person for an important post, even if that person is his foe. He will also dismiss an unscrupulous character from a task, even if that person is his close relative. Scroll 40. 韩子 Chapter 3. Esteeming Virtues. 70. The original good self-nature of humans is called Xing. The right way of behavior following one's nature is called Dao. The teaching and nurturing of human behavior in accordance with these norms is called Jiao. Therefore, Dao is indispensable to all human beings. That which is dispensable is not Dao. Scroll 7. 礼记 71. Heaven, in its motions, preserves great harmony in union, enabling all creations to be peaceful and beneficial, and perpetually correct and firm. Heaven creates all things on the earth, and made every place under it serene and tranquil. Respected leaders in the myriad states follow the virtuous attributes of heaven, so they shall run their respective states in stable peace. Scroll 1, 周易 72. Man takes his law from the earth, which is serene and gentle, hard-working and uncomplicated, meritorious without showing off. The earth takes its law from the heaven, giving without expecting reward, allowing all things to grow without expecting returns. Heaven takes its law from the Tao, tranquil and quiet, allowing all things to form naturally as they should be. The law of Tao follows its nature. The Tao is being what it is. Scroll 34, 老子 73. Sages have no selfish desires. They cultivate virtue instead of amassing wealth for themselves. With virtuous disposition, they teach the ignorant, and with the money they have, they give to the needy. They reserve nothing for themselves. It appears that the more they give to others, the more they receive in return. The law of nature is naturally beneficial and never does any harm to anything. The conduct of sages will benefit people naturally and does not struggle to control along the way. Scroll 34, 老子 74. Confucius said, "The eagerness to learn from the sages is an indication of wisdom. Putting lessons into practice is an indication of benevolence. Discovering one's mistakes and generating the determination to correct them is an indication of courage. A man who understands what constitutes wisdom, benevolence, and courage will correct his erroneous views, speech, and actions. Consequently, he will know how to lead the people, and when he does, he will be able to govern the country properly." Scroll 10, 孔子家语 75. When a ruler declares and carries out laws in order to pursue welfare for the people, this is called righteousness. When a ruler and his people respect and love each other, this is called harmony. When a ruler can meet the people's needs before the people have to plead for their attention, this is called trustworthiness. When a ruler can eliminate troubles for his people, this is called benevolence. Benevolence and trustworthiness, harmony and righteousness are the valuable implements of a ruler. Scroll 31, 鱼子 76. King Wen asked Taigong, "What should one do so that he can govern all under heaven, 天下?" Taigong said, When your magnanimity encompasses 天下, you will be able to accommodate it. When your trustworthiness encompasses 天下, you will be able to make covenants with it. When your benevolence encompasses 天下, you will be able to embrace it. When your generosity and kindness encompasses 天下, you will be able to command it. When your authority encompasses 天下, you will not lose it to others. Take decisive actions, and your subjects will be able to depend upon your decisiveness. If a ruler has all the 6 elements, he can then govern all under heaven. Scroll 31. 六韬. Footnote. The notion of 天下 is a wide-reaching term that embraces ideas of populace, nations, communities, countries, or the world. Hence, the original Chinese term has not been translated to preserve the implications of these ideas in this context. 77. Therefore, a superior person will not worry about becoming old and frail. Instead, he worries about his mind becoming weary and dull. He will neither let virtuous causes lie dormant, nor let righteous causes lie still. For a man of words and not of actions will let virtuous causes lie dormant. A man of actions who cannot persevere to the end will let righteous causes lie still. Thus, a superior person must persevere in putting his words into action. Scroll 46. 中论. 78. The book of 象传 said, the oracle 谦 symbolizes the strength and eternity of heaven in its motion. A superior person should learn from the attributes of heaven to be self-reliant and vow to work hard, never giving up. Scroll 1. 周易. 79. The book of 象传 said, the oracle Kun symbolizes the gentle terrain of the earth. The superior person should learn from the earth, carry and support all things in the world with his great virtue. Scroll 1. 周易. 80. One who does not cultivate good deeds is a malicious man. One who does not assist his elders is a petty person. King Zhou was known as a despot because he was cruel and oppressive. But Confucius, a man who served only as a counsel to many feudal lords, was reckoned as a commoner king, a man with kingly virtues, but not with kingly rank. This demonstrates clearly that noble status and wealth is not the measure of a superior person. Scroll 50. 抱朴子. Footnote. 小人, small or petty person, does not grasp the value of virtues and seeks only immediate gains. 81. If one were able to perfect his filial piety and attention to fraternal duties, he would move the gods and divinities in heaven and earth, and will reach to the spiritual intelligence. The light of his great virtue would illuminate the whole world, and all would be touched by the virtues of filial piety. Scroll 9. 孝经 82. Long and large grows the it is not the but the how. I am saddened by the loss of my parents, who gave me birth and brought me up at great personal cost, fatherless, who is there to rely on, motherless, who is there to depend on. When I go abroad, I carry my grief with me. When I came home, I have no one to go to. O my father, who begat me. O my mother, who nurtured me. You raised me, you loved me, you brought me up, and you taught me. You cared for me, and you worried for me. Everywhere you went, you held me in your arms. If I would return your kindness, it is like great heaven, illimitable. Scroll 3. 毛诗 Footnote: and how are two species of Artemisia belonging to the daisy family of Asteraceae. According to the interpretation offered by the editor of the compilation, Wei Zhen, the son, felt so sad over the death of his parents that he could not distinguish the difference between the two Artemisia species. Another popular interpretation for this metaphor is that since is aromatic and edible, it represents a promising future. How, which is bitter and unpalatable, represents a future that is bleak. The contrast meant to bring out the fact that the parents had hoped to have a son who has prospects of success in life. However, the son has failed to do so before his parents passed away, and this is a cause of great regrets for the son. 83. There are three levels of filial piety in action. A minor filial piety that takes the form of physical labor. An intermediate filial piety that applies meritorious deeds. A greater filial piety that holds back nothing. When I remember the love my parents gave me and the sacrifices they had to make in bringing me up, I am able to forget my own physical fatigue when I make ends meet to serve them. Such is the minor filial piety that takes the form of physical labor. When I revered benevolent virtues and enable society to abide contentedly in righteousness. Such is the intermediate filial piety that applies meritorious deeds. Propagating moral and ethical teaching across the lands, dispensing benefits, and providing for all things necessary to enable every person to support their parents and prepare adequate offerings to their ancestors. Such is the greater filial piety that holds back nothing. If my parents love me, I will rejoice and never forget their kindness. If they dislike me, I will be even more vigilant against any wrongdoings that I may commit, and bear no resentment against my parents. If they commit a mistake, I will persuade them to change, but I will not rebel against them. When my parents pass away, I will pay my respects to them with food I obtained with legitimate means. Such is the complete fulfillment of propriety. Scroll 7. 礼记 84. Our bodies, to every hair and every bit of skin, are given to us by our parents, and we must not presume to injure or wound them. This is the beginning of filial piety. When we have established a virtuous character by the practice of the filial course, so as to make our name revered in future ages, and thereby glorify our parents, this is the ultimate goal of filial piety. It commences with the service of parents. It proceeds to the service of the ruler. It ends with the establishment of a virtuous character. Scroll 9. 孝经 85. Above others, and yet free from conceit, even when they live in high-status position, they will not invite perils to themselves. They live with economy and carefully observe the rules and laws. Thus, even when they are wealthy, they will not spend wastefully. To live in a high-status position without peril is the way to preserve lasting nobility. To possess wealth without wastefulness is the way to preserve lasting riches. When their riches and nobility do not leave their persons, they are able to preserve their land and bring harmony to their people. This is the filial piety of the Lords. It is said in the book of 诗经, 小雅, Book of Odes, be apprehensive, be cautious, as if on the brink of a deep abyss, as if treading on thin ice. Scroll 9. 孝经 86. Senior ministers do not presume to wear robes other than those appointed by the laws of the ancient kings, or to speak words other than those sanctioned by the ancient kings, or to exhibit conduct other than that exemplified by the ancient kings. Thus, none of their words are contrary to those sanctions, and none of their actions are contrary to the virtuous way. From their mouth there comes no exceptionable speech, and in their conduct there are no exceptionable actions. Their words may spread all over the world, and no error of speech will be found in them. Their actions may spread all over the world, and no grievances or dislikes will be awakened by them. When these three things, their robes, their words, and their conduct, are all complete, as they should be, they can then preserve their ancestral shrines. This is the filial piety of the high ministers and great officers. It is said in the book of 诗经, he is never idle, day or night, in the service of the Son of Heaven. Scroll 9. 孝经 87. Servicing a leader with the heart of a filial child will enable one to perform his duties to the leader loyally. Servicing a superior with the heart of a respectful sibling will enable one to comply with duties given by that superior. When subordinates can engage loyalty and comply flawlessly in the service of the leader and superior, they will be able to maintain their earnings and positions, as well as preserve the ritual services of their ancestors. This is the filial piety of a lower-ranking officer. Scroll 9. 孝经. 88. By following and making the most out of the changing seasons, common people distinguish the advantages afforded by different soils in order to reap the biggest harvest. They are careful in their conduct and frugal with their expenses, so that they may support their parents. This is the filial piety that common people should fulfill. Thus, from the Son of Heaven down to the common people, starting with serving parents reverently to the end, when a name is established in the honor of the family, the filial duties are not difficult to fulfill. The way of filial piety sees no divisions of superiority or inferiority. It transcends time and space. It is eternal, without beginning or an end. No one should worry that they would not be able to fulfill their filial duties. Scroll 9. 孝经. 89. Confucius said, when filial children serve their parents at home, they will do so with utmost respect. When they tend to the needs of their parents, they will do so with utmost gladness. When they take care of their parents who are ill, they will do so with utmost concern. When their parents pass away, they will take care of the funeral services with the greatest grief. And in offering memorials to their parents, they will show utmost solemnity. It can be said that children have truly fulfilled their duties to their parents when these 5 things are complete. Scroll 9. 孝经. 90. Zhenzi said, our bodies came from our parents. How can any person not be prudent in using this body to conduct his affairs? Leading a frivolous lifestyle is unfilial. Serving one's superior disloyally is unfilial. Working as government official but not being serious and responsible is unfilial. Not being trustworthy towards friends is unfilial. And being cowardly when at war is unfilial. Failure to fulfill these 5 filial duties will be detrimental to our parents' reputation. How can we not be prudent in using this body to conduct our affairs? Scroll 7. 礼记. 91. I dare not forget my parents in every step I take, and I dare not forget my parents in every word I say. As I remember my parents, in every step I take, I will choose the right course of actions in preference to a devious shortcut. If there is a boat I can ride, I will not choose to wade across the river, or for the fear of putting this body given to me by my parents at risk. As I remember my parents in every word I say, I will not use abusive language and cause refoul words to be thrown back at me. Not subjecting myself to indignities and causing my parents shame. This can be considered as filial piety. Scroll 7. 礼记 92. He who does not love his parents, but loves others, rejects virtue. He who does not revere his parents, but reveres others, rejects propriety. Scroll 9. 孝经 93. Zhenzi said, "An officer cannot be without breadth of mind and vigorous endurance. His responsibilities are heavy, and his journey ahead is far and long indeed. When committed to practicing the virtue of benevolence as a personal goal, is this not a heavy responsibility? Only with death will this commitment end. Is this not a journey that is far and long indeed?" Scroll 9. 论语 94. If there is one word that you should hold permanently to your heart, it is this word, 恕. What you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others. If there is one standard of conduct that you should always exemplify, it is this, 正, integrity. 恕 is the practice that leads to benevolence, and 正 is the key to righteousness. Scroll 46. 身见 95. Yan Yuan asked Confucius about the definition of benevolence. Confucius answered, "To be able to control your desires, and to let your words and deeds to be steadfast in propriety is benevolence. Once you can do this, you will be able to affect the world to become benevolent also. Take the initiatives upon yourself, and do not expect initiation from someone else." Yan Yuan asked again, "How can one carry on such a practice?" Confucius replied, "Do not look at things that do not accord with propriety. Do not listen to things that do not accord with propriety. Do not say things that do not accord with propriety. And do not do anything that does not accord with propriety." Scroll 9. 论语 96. Zhong Gong asked about benevolence. Confucius said, "When you face the public, act as if you were greeting prestigious guests. While employing the services of the common people, act as if you were officiating a major ceremony. What you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others. In this way, you will not incur any bitter feelings from anybody. Scroll 9, 论语. (97) A man should not forget the friends he made when he was poor. A wife who has shared her husband's hardship must never be cast aside. Scroll 22, 后汉书, Volume 2. (98) Heaven and earth are bound within the natural order. But when actualities are absent, they cannot transform and nourish all things. A leader and his subordinates are bound by a mutual commitment, but when sincerity is absent, they cannot work together in mutual admiration. Parents and children are bound by propriety, but when sincerity is absent, they become estranged from each other. Husband and wife are bonded in a relation of gratefulness, but when sincerity is absent, they will end up leaving each other. Friendship is founded on ties of affection, but when sincerity is absent, all ties will be severed. Morality and ethics can help us to manage our tasks appropriately, but it is through sincerity that we can earnestly understand the needs of others as well as the truth of things. Scroll 48, 体论. (99) In the cultivation of a good character, nothing can surpass the value of sincerity. Utmost sincerity can only be achieved through upholding benevolence and implementing righteousness. By being most sincere in upholding benevolence, we can right ourselves and influence people to do the same. By being most sincere in implementing righteous deeds, we can transform social customs from bad to good. Using benevolent and righteous values to educate people, the habits of self-correction and doing good deeds will eventually become an acceptable social norm. In this respect, the society will progress in line with the moral principles of heaven. Scroll 38, 孙亲子. (100) Only a superior person can be trusted to act in good faith. As soon as he loses his trustworthiness, everything he did in his life will be invalidated. Hence, a superior person takes his reputation for being honest very seriously. Scroll 50, 原子证书. (101) Confucius said, "If you want others to have confidence in you, you should speak little and carry out your words. Your actions will speak for themselves. After a period of time, the results become so evident that no one else could distort the truth from the eyes and ears of the public." Scroll 46, 中论. (102) Zixiao said, "When a superior person assumes the position of an official, he must first earn the trust of the people before he gives orders to them. Otherwise, people will regard him as oppressive. When a superior person assumes the position of a subordinate, he must first earn the trust of his superior before he offers any advice to the latter. Otherwise, the superior will take it as an insult. Scroll 9, 论语. (103) If a leader instructs his minister in good faith, the ministers will also serve him in good faith. If a father teaches his children in good faith, his children will also show filial obedience in good faith. If a husband honors his wife in good faith, the wife will also submit to him in good faith. The leaders who adhere to virtuous principles will gain the faithful submissions of their subjects in return. With this, all can be educated and transformed without exception. Scroll 49, 父子. (104) A ruler who pretends to be benevolent is a hypocrite, and he who expects the ministers to serve him earnestly while he treats them insincerely is ignorant. A hypocritical and ignorant leader will not attract ministers who will serve him with undying loyalty. Hence, it is said in the book of Shangshu, a leader is analogous to the head of a man, and his ministers the arm and the legs. It is hoped that the leader and his ministers can work amicably as one body, so that they will be able to govern the country properly. Scroll 48, 体论. (105) Simple honesty is better than subtle hypocrisy. Scroll 40, 韩子. (106) Practice virtue and you will calm the mind and become more restful day after day. Practice hypocrisy and you will wear out your mind only to worsen the situation day after day. Scroll 2, 上书. (107) Zhenzhi said, "May I ask what the 7 lessons are about?" Confucius said, "If a leader respects all people, his subjects will show more filial obedience towards their parents. If a leader respects the elderly, his subjects will show more respect towards their elder siblings. If a leader is kind and giving, his subjects will become more tolerant and generous. If a leader favors the virtues, his subjects will attach more importance to choosing their friends wisely. If a leader places great importance on ethical conduct, his subjects will not commit acts that cannot be revealed to the public. If a leader is not greedy, his subjects will be ashamed of fighting with each other for profits. If a leader is honorable and humble, his subjects will uphold integrity firmly. These are the 7 lessons, the foundation of governing. Once the principles of governing are established, the government will become stable and strong. Since people look up to all the senior ministers and bureaucrats as examples to follow, and as long as they are upright, what else cannot be upright? Scroll 10. 孔子家语 108. Confucius said, when a leader's personal conduct is upright, his government is effective without the issuing of orders. If his personal conduct is not upright, he may issue orders, but they will not be followed. Scroll 9. 论语 109. A superior person must first and foremost be an exemplar of integrity in his official duties. Giving instructions and punishment are secondary measures. Scroll 47. 政要论 110. Confucius said, in serving a superior, the subordinates will not only follow by obeying the commands of his superior, but also follow by observing the superior's conduct. Whatever preferences shown by a superior will be exceeded by the preferences of his subordinates. Therefore, a leader must be careful with what he likes or dislikes, for he is the role model for the people. Scroll 7. 礼记 111. If a superior is impartial, his subjects will not dare to profiteer. If he is honest and fair, his subjects will not dare to engage in dishonest enterprises, thinking they can get away without punishment. If he is frugal, his subjects will not dare to spend lavishly. These are the effects of a leadership that practices what he preaches. Scroll 45. 畅言 112. Tai Gong said, there are 3 protocols for generals and commanders of an army. Do not wear fur coats in the winter. Do not use fans in the summer. Do not open umbrellas on rainy days. Scroll 31. 六韬 Footnote. The purpose of this protocol is to remind the generals and commanders to place themselves in the same situations as their soldiers, be it hot or cold, damp or dry. A commander who can empathize with the circumstances in which he places his soldiers will not only gain the loyalty of his soldiers, but also come up with good strategies that will find victory with the least sacrifice of human lives. (113) Confucius said, a superior person shows his consideration for others in 3 ways. Not serving his leader wholeheartedly while ordering his own subordinates around is inconsiderate. Not fulfilling his filial duties to his parents, but demanding that his own children to be filial to him is inconsiderate. not respecting his elder siblings, but demanding his own younger siblings to respect him is inconsiderate. If he can understand that consideration for others stems from loyalty to his own leader, filial obedience to his own parents, and reverence to his elder siblings, he is truly a person who has an upright character. Scroll 10. 孔子家语 114. A virtuous leader will lead the way to do good deeds before he asks others to do the same. He will expect himself to be devoid of wrongdoing before he can stop others from wrongdoing. Scroll 7. 礼记 115. A superior person can work on earning respect, but he cannot expect others to respect him. He can work on being trustworthy, but he cannot expect others to trust him. He can be worthy of appointment to a post, but he cannot expect the post to be given to him. Therefore, a superior person is ashamed of not being a man of character, but he is not ashamed of being insulted. He is ashamed of breaking his promise, but he is not ashamed of being distrusted. He is ashamed of being unskillful, but he is not ashamed of missing the chance to get appointed. In short, he is not tempted by superficial reputation or intimidated by slanders. He is honorable and upright, unwavering in his convictions. Scroll 38. 孙亲子 116. The responsibility for honor and disgrace rests with nobody but oneself. Scroll 40. 韩子 117. The book of Xiangzuan interprets the oracle of 家人, family members, as a superior person speaks meaningful words and his conduct is uniformly consistent. Scroll 1. 周易 118. When a leader dresses in a manner that befits his status, no eccentric attire will be worn by his officials. When the leader's words are just, no fabricated reports will be produced by his subordinates. When the leader is honorable and fair, no servile official or factionism will arise in the civil service. These 3 points should serve as a guideline for the leader. Scroll 33. 晏子 119. No matter how slight a sound may be, it will still be heard. No matter how carefully a good deed is concealed, it will still be known. When jade is embedded deep in the mountain grass and wood will be moistened. When a deep pool produces pearls, the aged around the deep pool will not dry up. If one persists in doing good, how can people not know his good deeds? Scroll 38. 孙亲子。120. Emperor Guangwu of the Han Dynasty said, "He who dreams of great success will not hold a grudge over minor hostilities." Scroll 21, 后汉书, Volume 1. 121. Lao Tzu said, "Respond to anger with virtue. Recompense injury with kindness." Scroll 40, 甲子. 122. According to the book of Tuan Zuan, the oracle of humility, Qian, gets through, indicates progress and success. In the way of heaven, to send down its beneficial influence below, where they are brilliantly displayed. In the way of earth, lying low to send its influence upwards, and there to act. It is the way of heaven to diminish the fool and augment the humble. It is the way of earth to overthrow the fool and replenish the humble. Spiritual beings inflict calamity on the fool and bless the humble. It is the way of men to dislike the fool and love the humble. Humility in a position of honor makes that still more brilliant. And in a low position, its virtuous accomplishment is unsurpassable. This is the result attained by a superior person through the cultivation of moral character. Scroll 1, 周易. 123. Only virtuous conduct can touch the heart of heaven and earth, and people, irrespective of where they live, will come and pledge their allegiance to the virtues. Complacency brings harm. Humility brings benefit. This is the law of nature. Scroll 2, 尚书. 124. The book of Xiangzhuan states that a diligent and humble superior person draws admiration and respect from tens of thousands of people to come and pledge their allegiance. Scroll 1, 周易. 125. When the virtues of a leader are renewed daily, the myriad states harbor affection for him. When he is self-satisfied and conceited, even his relatives will abandon him. Scroll 2, 尚书. 126. The book of Yi Jing says, "There is a way which, if adhered to, at best can keep the world at peace. To a lesser degree, can safeguard the country. At the least, can keep oneself from harm. The way is humility." Scroll 43, 说愿. 127. To climb up a mountain, one must start from the bottom. To journey afar, one must start from the closest step. Scroll 2. 上书 128. The reason why the rivers and seas are able to receive the homage and tribute of all the valley streams is that they are lower than all the others. It is thus that they are the kings of them all. Scroll 34. 老子 129. A superior person is always humble and respectful, and his behavior is in accordance with propriety. Moreover, he never puts himself above others despite his outstanding abilities. He regards others as able and virtuous, and sees himself as a less than capable person. Hence, other people are never tired of giving him advice or teaching him. Scroll 46. 中论 130. If you were not conceited, no one in the world would strive to surpass your position. If you were not boastful, no one in the world would strive to surpass your contribution. Scroll 2. 上书 131. Not many people can stop themselves from bragging about the good deeds that they have performed, and very few talented people can stop themselves from becoming egotistical. A boastful person will neglect the strength of others, and an egotistical person will certainly dominate others. However, he who neglects others will also be neglected by others, and he who dominates others will also be dominated by others. Scroll 26. 位置 Volume 2. 132. Confucius said, if a person had the talent and administrative ability as splendid as the Duke of Zhou, but then grew to become conceited and miserly, the rest of his good qualities would not be worth a glance. Scroll 9. 论语 133. The book of I Ching divinized. In the oracle Qian, the dragon seated at the highest position will have cause to repent. Confucius interpreted this as being said, when a man seeks to climb so high that he loses his place in the world, he becomes isolated. Nobody from below can reach him. So, in every move he makes, he is bound to make mistakes, as no one can help him. This foretells a person whose only ambition is to move ahead, and for that he discharges any possibility that calls for retreat. He knows about existence, but he ignores death. He wants success, but cannot accept failure. Only a wise man will understand the law of advance, retreat, existence, and death, yet remain on the right path. Only a wise man can do this. Scroll 1. 周易 134. When a sage lost sight of the truth, he became an unruly person. When an unruly person overcame his delusion, he became a sage. Scroll 2. 上书 135. It was said in the book of 国语, becoming virtuous is like struggling uphill, but committing vice is like collapsing in a landslide. In other words, it is difficult to follow the path of virtue, but easy to succumb to vice. Scroll 27. 无智 Volume 1. 136. The book of Qu Li said, always and in everything, let there be reverence. Be dignified as if one is thinking deeply, and speak with composure and clarity. This way will put people at ease. Scroll 7. 礼记 137. The higher one goes, the more humble he should become. The more important one's official role becomes, the more cautious he should be. And the higher a salary he draws, the more he should not be wanting for more. Scroll 43. 说愿 138. It is easy for a person born to a privileged family to acquire an air of arrogance, and a person born to a rich family to acquire a taste for extravagance. If the privileged and the rich do not follow the right way to guard against arrogance and wastefulness, seldom will they not commit wrongdoings. Scroll 35. 文字 139. In the oracle Qian, a superior person works hard and remains vigilant all day, and in the evening he is still careful and apprehensive as if he is in danger. Hence, there is no bad fortune. What does this mean? Confucius said, this is a metaphor about how a person advances in virtue and cultivates all the sphere of his duties. His devotion and trustworthiness are the means by which he advances in virtue. His attention to his words and establishing his sincerity are the means by which he excels in his duties. Therefore, he occupies a high position without pride, and a low position without anxiety. Thus, it is that, being diligent and vigilant, and forever careful and apprehensive, he will be safe from danger, even when his position is precarious. Scroll 1. 周易 140. We cannot for one moment leave the Tao, righteous path. What can be left out is not Tao. A superior person will remain discreet even at places where nobody is around, and he will remain apprehensive at places where nobody can be heard. Beware that the most secretive place is also the easiest place to be found, and the tiniest thing is also the easiest thing to be seen, whenever one's thoughts are most unguarded. A superior person, therefore, is most watchful when he is alone by himself. Scroll 7. 礼记 141. Thus, the conduct of a superior person bears 4 features. He follows through his plans and never forgets to be kind. He deploys his expertise and never forgets to be righteous. He works hard and never forgets to be faithful. When he speaks, he never forgets to be truthful. If he can keep these features all his life, honor will follow him like a shadow to his form and an echo to his callings. Scroll 36. 狮子 142. A superior person does not make jokes, and his words are in line with propriety. He does not play pranks, and his behavior is prudent. If his speech and his behavior are prudent, his wife will not act contemptuously towards him, despite their intimate relation, and his friends will not slight him, despite their close afflictions. Thus, a superior person's behavior is sufficient to influence the behavior of his family members without any need for harsh reprimands, and moral social customs will be spread across the land without any need for remonstrations. Thus, in Mencius, it was said, "When a sage is upright, all the things around him will follow suit." Scroll 46. 中论 143. Be warned, do not talk too much. Much talk incurs much trouble. Do not be too inquisitive. Much prying will incur much harm. Stay alert, even at a comfortable place, and refrain from doing anything that will cause regrets. Scroll 10. 孔子家语 144. Confucius said, "Chaos is created by indiscreet utterance." When a leader speaks indiscriminately, he loses his ministers. If ministers speak indiscriminately, they will bring troubles upon themselves. If classified information cannot be kept safe, catastrophes will happen. A superior person, therefore, is most discreet in keeping confidential matters unrevealed. Scroll 1. 周易 145. Lao Tzu said, "One who makes promises lightly seldom keeps good faith. One who makes light of many things will encounter many difficulties." Therefore, the sage sees difficulty even in what seems easy, and so never has any difficulties. Scroll 34. Lao Tzu. Footnote: A sage will always prepare for the worst, and therefore no difficulties can get the better of him. (146) Confucius said, there are 3 kinds of enjoyment which are beneficial, and 3 kinds of enjoyment which are harmful. The enjoyment of cultivation in music and ritual, the enjoyment of speaking of the goodness of others, and the enjoyment of having many friends of good character are all beneficial. The enjoyment of taking pleasure in arrogance, the enjoyment of aimless idling, and the enjoyment of drinking and feasting are all harmful. Scroll 9. 论语 (147) A superior person remains steadfast in the virtue of humility to avoid calamity. He should not take pride in chasing after fame and fortune. Scroll 1. 周易 (148) The friendship offered by a superior person is plain like water. The friendship offered by a petty person is pleasing like sweet wine. Being friends with a superior person may not be exciting, but the interactions are nevertheless beneficial to both sides. Being friends with a petty person may be exciting, but may hurt in the end when no more selfish gains are to be made from it. Scroll 7. 礼记 (149) Walking in the company of good people is like walking into a room full of fragrant lilies. After a while, we cannot smell the fragrance, as if we have become part of the fragrance. Walking in the company of unsavory people is like walking into a shop that sells salted fish. After a while, we cannot smell the salted fish, as if we have become part of the smell. Therefore, a superior person must choose carefully whom he befriends. Scroll 10. 孔子家语 (150) Confucius said, there are 3 kinds of friendship which are beneficial, and 3 kinds of friendship which are harmful. Being friends with people who are fair-minded, sincere, and knowledgeable are beneficial. Being friends with people who are deceptive, unprincipled, and smooth-talking are harmful. Scroll 9. 论语 (151) Never tire of learning, for it will subdue our bad habits. Never tire of teaching, for it will educate and transform people. Scroll 36. 狮子 (152) A superior person will study hard so that he can accumulate knowledge and improve his moral standing. He will ask questions to find out about the truth. He is considerate in his dealings with people, and he uses benevolence and compassion to guide his actions. Scroll 1. 周易 153. If a craftsman wishes to perfect his skills, he must first sharpen his tools. If a scholar wishes to promote the teachings of righteous virtues, he must first study the classics written by the sages. The book of I Ching said, "A superior person must remember and learn from the many paths taken by the forefathers, so that he can enrich his own moral cultivation." Scroll 44, 潜夫论 154. Zhenzi said, "A superior person will exhaust all efforts to correct his own faults. He will examine his own shortcomings, break through his limitations, get rid of his selfish desires, and do what is right in accordance to the righteous principles." This can be said to be true scholarship. Scroll 35, 曾子 155. Confucius said, "I have tried to spend a whole day without eating and a whole night without sleeping in order to meditate, but I've got nothing out of it. I might just as well study the classics written by the sages." Scroll 9, 论语 156. I reflect upon the good deeds done by others, and I will learn from them. I will also reflect upon the bad deeds done by others and warn myself against them. People who give me direct and accurate criticisms are my teachers. People who give me their support in a reasonable manner are my friends. People who fawn over me are the ones who will hurt me. Scroll 38, 孙亲子 157. A tree you can barely get your arms around grows from a tiny shoot. A 9-story tower begins as a heap of earth. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Scroll 34, 老子 158. Without taking continuous steps, a journey of 1,000 miles cannot be done. Without gathering water from small streams, no rivers or oceans can be formed. Scroll 38, 孙亲子 159. In the oracle of Heng, this is revealed. He who does not continuously maintain his virtues may face disgrace. He who does not continuously maintain his virtues will not be allowed by society to establish himself. Scroll 1, 周易